should I have
Welcome to Media Path. I'm Fritz Coleman.
And I am Louise Palanker.
You know, as we walk along the Media Path, we will occasionally stop and call your attention to something interesting that lurks in the shrubbery just outside your view that you wouldn't have caught without our trained eye, and then you will thank us profusely later. We also love our guests. Today we're joined by Ruth Mendelson. Ruth is accomplished in so many ways. She is a composer and a producer and an arranger and an author. And what I think is her most endearing quality is she is a philanthropist and a humanitarian and somebody who strives to make the planet better and does it in a bunch of ways. Ruth will be with us in just a second. But Weezy, what do you have for us this week?
Oh, we're going to read some reviews first of all.
Oh, my God. And that's my responsibility. You know, we haven't done that. And I guess here's a review from Rach from Reno, Rach from Reno. Mm-hmm. Did you get a pronunciation from her? Are you sure it's Rach?
We know because we've heard it from our producer, Dina.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. Fantastic. All right. Well, listen, she loves this podcast. Very engaging and interesting. Definitely would recommend it to anybody looking for a great podcast. Bless your heart, Rach. We appreciate it. And also, bravo from Leica64, obviously a photographer. Well presented. I enjoy the playful and friendly banter between these two Southern California legendary personalities. Highly recommended. God bless you and everything you stand for. We appreciate it.
Thank you for your fine taste in podcasting. So the first book that I wanted to talk about, Fritz, is kind of like a perennial favorite for me. It's like one of those books that you find yourself thinking about and talking about with other people who have read the book. The book is called The Invisible Wall by Harry Bernstein. This is a miraculous book written by the author in 2008, who, at the age of 93, was able to clearly recall the events of his childhood from before World War I.
Wow.
Harry Bernstein delightfully and vividly brings to life an all-but-forgotten time and place in working-class, smoky, Milltown, early 20th century northern England, when Jews and Gentiles seldom mixed. His childhood street was the boundary where the two worlds collided, Jews on one side, Gentiles on the other. It was a divide that would be bridged by love. On the eve of World War I, young Harry watches as his sister Lily falls for Arthur, the Christian boy across worlds and cultures and history and tradition and across the street. When Harry unwittingly discovers their secret affair, he must choose between the rules he's been taught all of his young life, his loyalty to his selfless mother, and what he knows to be true in his own heart. This is a book you will not forget, The Invisible Wall by Harry Bernstein.
Wow, sounds wonderful. And I wonder how World War I changed the neighborhood dynamics there because Germany was bounced.
This is England, and after World War I, there's just a lot of new boundaries that were kind of created between countries. But I think England pretty much stayed the same and just sort of kind of lurched
I just
towards
meant in
modernism.
terms of, Jews, and then there was the rise, in the early 30s, it was the rise of authoritarianism in Germany and all that. But that's too late for him.
Because with World War I, we didn't really kind of fix enough of what had led to World War I. There were still all kinds of fissures. Yeah, we created more.
All right. Well, that sounds like a wonderful offer. Now, I'm going to talk about a series called Dopesick. This is on Hulu. It's a multi-part series. 3 episodes have dropped already. They'll introduce another one tomorrow night and every Wednesday thereafter. It's based on the book Dopesick by Beth Macy. This is a gut-wrenching overview of the opioid crisis in America. Michael Keaton plays Dr. Sam Phoenix, who is a family doctor in a Virginia mining town. It's the arc of his experience prescribing OxyContin to his patients, and then ending up having to testify in front of a grand jury about how many of those patients have died from overdoses. The stories come from a couple of different points of view. One, the doctors and patients prescribing and using the drug. A second view is law enforcement trying to hold Purdue Pharma accountable. Incidentally, this is all transpiring right now.
Yeah.
The Sackler family is pretending they're bankrupt so they don't have to pay these fines. 3, the Purdue sales force that marketed the drug using false claims. There is a Shakespearean family dynamic that drives the story too. Richard Sackler, who was the one-time president president of Purdue Pharma, has always been looked down on by the rest of the Sackler family. So he embarks on retribution, especially against his uncle Arthur Sackler, who came up with a successful marketing system for Valium. Richard Sackler wanted to beat Uncle Arthur's success by making their painkiller OxyContin even more successful. The company came up with a coating for the pill, which made it a time-release drug, which in turn made it seem less addictive in the short term. The company claimed that less than 1% of the patients become addicted, which proved to be wildly false. Michael Keaton is a powerful presence in this movie. As I was talking to you before, Weezy, about this is his second socially aware work lately. He did Worth, which is the true story of the attorney responsible for distributing the 9/11 victim funds, a great piece of work as well. Also in Dopesick is Michael Stuhlbarg as Richard Sackler, the dark and obsessed head of the family business. He is wonderful. What this story does is put a disturbing human face on all of the aspects of this scourge called the opioid crisis. If you have had any of these problems in your family, I'm highly recommending. This is a beautiful piece of work.
I think anybody should watch it, whether you've struggled with addiction or not. I think it's important to watch pieces like this so that we don't just so easily turn away from people that are struggling with addiction and saying, well, that wouldn't happen to me because, I have more willpower. Because if you made those pills chocolate coated, I would find them very addictive. You'd have me right there. So everyone has their,
Well, the interesting thing about this is nothing is nuanced. You immediately understand how guilty this family was and how guilty Purdue Pharma was in manufacturing and marketing this drug that they lied about in their marketing program. They gave a financial incentive to the salespeople to go out and sell this false claim about OxyContin. And I've been following the news story because right now they're in the midst of claiming bankruptcy so that they don't have to pay these enormous fines levied by the FTC or whatever, and it will make you be even madder. But it's an amazing piece of work.
It sounds like you're telling the story of personal family grievances inflicted upon the world. Which is,
Yes, that's what I mentioned is the Shakespearean clash, which was this guy who's trying to gain respect of these snobbish family members.
Like, you think you can addict people, I can addict more people.
Right.
Very disturbing. But I think we should,
Here she comes.
Shine a light and bring in our guest.
Our guest today is Ruth Mendelson. This woman is accomplished in so many areas. She's a composer and a producer of film and television soundtracks. She's created award-winning scores for HBO and Disney Channel and Discovery Channel. She is the first woman ever to teach in the film scoring department at the most prestigious music school in America, the Berkeley School of Music in Boston. She's written a wonderful children's book. It's not really a children's book, honestly. It's a book of wisdom for all humans of all ages. It's called The Water Tree Way, with a foreword written by Jane Goodall, of course, who is the world's preeminent primatologist. She's sort of she's the Mother Teresa of nature. I just love her to death. So please welcome Ruth Mendelson. Hi, Ruth.
Hey, greetings and salutations.
Nice to talk to you there in beautiful Boston with your foliage rich in the background. I can't see the color of those leaves, but are we seeing fall colors back there yet or what?
Over there, yes. Over here, not yet.
Okay.
All right. Can you turn your camera? Thank you. So production value. Come on, Ruth. Let's go. So I just finished reading your book. I'm wondering, did you write this during the pandemic and when, what was your writing process like? Because it feels to me like you had to put yourself in an alternate universe. And what was that process like for you?
That's a really good question. And first of all, hello, everybody out there. I hope you're well and staying safe, nice and healthy. It took me over 30 years to write that book.
What?
Wow.
On and off. I was inspired by this back in the 1980s.
I'm not surprised. There's so much wisdom in there. It's not something you can just sit down and crank in a couple of months.
I had to, yeah. And it wouldn't leave me alone. I had no intention of writing a book. But it wouldn't leave me alone. And I do feel honestly, and I've said this before, but I think that, honestly, there's so much agitation happening in people. And I think that part of, if you really quiet down, and if that agitation is still there, it likely could be that there's something that is there for you to create, that's asking you to create itself.
Or to turn that energy into fuel. Yeah,
exactly. And that it's kind of impacted in there. It's encoded in there. I think sometimes creative works are like that.
Okay.
Like if they in order to be manifest, they're going to tap you on the shoulder, and it might not always feel great. Sometimes it's great, like total inspiration.
Like in your book, it's a mosquito.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Things that we might, and that it's interesting the way that you wrote your characters, because things that we may perceive as annoying are actually a lesson, and you should pay attention. Maybe there's something there for you to learn.
Correct. Absolutely.
Give a little a framework of the story, just so folks who haven't read it yet understand what we're talking about. It's fanciful and wonderful, and
this is it's like the way that I like to describe it. It's like an inner outer multi-dimensional treasure hunt fairy tale for children of all ages.
There you go.
Well done.
So but I never could have imagined. I mean, I did finish it up during the pandemic, and the pandemic allowed me the time to do it, because film production for me kind of gratefully halted for a while at the beginning of the pandemic. Because I love what I do, but I was too busy. Like, it was just like film after film after film, and I didn't really have much time in between projects. So when the pandemic hit, actually for me, I had the luxurious position of just being a little relieved that I could just stop.
I think that was shared by maybe more people than you realize, because the pandemic lessons will be unfurling for decades.
Thank you. Exactly. I mean, to me, it was like nature just sending everyone to their room.
Yes.
To think about what they've done,
Yes, beautiful.
That's what it was always like to me.
So if this book has been your companion for the past 30 years, is she, or maybe they, come to you in dreams the way a lot of the lessons do for Jay?
Music comes to me in dreams. But the book didn't come to me in dreams. The book came to me in living vision.
Really?
Yeah. I spend a lot of time alone in the desert whenever I can.
Okay.
Wow.
For 30 years. A lot. I mean, whenever, even, preparing for a film score, whatever I'm doing, the first thing that I'll do whenever I can, I mean, the COVID has changed this for me, but I was going out to the desert, 3 to 5 times a year, and always alone. And it's just me and 400 miles of land in all directions, and just to get quiet.
Well, an inspiration for Jay, your character in this book, is influenced and inspired by music, which is the key to your life as well. Mm-hmm. So do you feel that plays out in the lives of all humans, that there is a soundtrack to their emotional life?
I actually had a dream about that once, where I was told that. Yeah. Wow. That everyone, I wasn't planning on talking about this. This is cool. Okay. I had a dream once about 25 years ago, where there's this one character that I often dream, who I call Professor Music. And I get music lessons. And I'm always in the same, it's like an old-fashioned one, those old-fashioned table chairs, like, or table desks, where it's just one piece of wood.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they exist anymore.
Oh, yeah. That was my elementary school. That's how old I am.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So the room is always like that. I'm always the only one in there, but I'm surrounded by these desks. And then Professor Music comes to the head of the class, and I get these different music lessons. So one time it was about triads, which is basically a triad. For those of you who don't know, it's just 3 notes that then makes up a chord. Mm-hmm. And then in the dream, what it was about was that every single person, everyone, no matter who you are, has their own triad, coming from the frequency of the mother, the frequency of the father, and the frequency of the incoming baby for the lessons there to learn that life.
Oh, wow, that's wonderful.
And so based on that triad, everyone has their own song.
So then that should be a harmony.
Correct.
But it doesn't always work as a harmony. Does someone kind of drift out of tune or into another key, or what happens when it's not quite behaving as a chord as you continue together?
I think honestly, that's when people get sick.
Okay.
If that inner alignment, that tuning is off, then it can be experienced as physical symptoms to help you get back on.
Okay. So is that what you would define as the center when Jay is told to look for her center? Would that center be like the chord would be in tune?
Yeah, because that chord then vibrates with love.
Oh.
Because the center is love.
Okay. So I'm going to kind of review a few of the lessons. It's like I was telling Fritz, it's like if you wanted to give your child all of the important lessons of the universe, you would give her or him this book, or they, because we have to honor who we are. And so I'm wondering if you went through and thought, okay, there needs to be a chapter that addresses this because this is really, really important, or if they just all came very naturally to you. So what I got was the lessons include perseverance, respecting nature, noticing patterns, finding your center, remaining calm, de-escalating conflict, honoring your ideas, hearing your own music, and that we are all connected.
That's beautiful.
And so tell me how what the journey was like for you to incorporate everything that you felt was important for a human being or for any particle in the universe to know into this book.
It was a very organic process. It wasn't very intellectual at all.
Okay.
So thank you for really reading the book in earnest, because it's obvious that you have. That's a beautiful thing.
Oh, my pleasure.
The book is meant as an offering of all of the things that I've learned over time and things that I was shown. So in terms of, I do a lot of humanitarian work, and that influenced the part about especially what to do in the face when you've experienced violence. How do you not take revenge? Because that's the fulcrum. It's like if you're going to perpetuate the cycle, then react. If you're going to put a stop to the cycle, then respond. But how do you do that? And how is a child supposed to know that if an adult doesn't know how to teach that? So, I do a lot of work with children in war zones. And so I've learned, there was a project that I did called the Well Wishes Project.
Right.
Okay. Can I transgress for a second?
Absolutely.
Because it's completely informed part of the book. Because the reason it took 30 years, I mean, I wasn't thinking when I started, it's like, oh, I'm going to write a book and it's going to take me 30 years to release it. That was the last that, I know. This is just how, that's just how it unfolded. But okay, so the Iraq War, the second Iraq War was about to break out, and it would just it was strange. It would just keep me up at night. I would just be staring at the ceiling in bed, like, what is this going to mean, not only for children in Iraq, because that's obvious, it's going to be devastating for them, but what about the children here? What is it going to mean for the children here? And the reason we're going to go down a little bit of a wormhole.
Let's go.
Go back to 2002 when I met Jane Goodall at the UN in Geneva. I was opening as a musician. It's a crazy story if we have time for it.
Oh, yeah.
Jane and I immediately, we just totally hit it off. So she called me back in the States once I got back. And I wanted to do this project just interviewing children about life. And Jane was always, always just a huge ally in my commitments of service for the planet. She just got it when most people didn't.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, no, she's incredible and really, really funny, by the way. She's hilarious. But anyway, so I did this project where I just decided, okay, I'm going to travel around the United States and I'm going to record I'm going to record children to youth. So 3 to 19 years old. That was the bracket. And just interview them about life, love, forgiveness, anything they wanted to say to kids their age in Iraq. And somehow I was going to edit. I mean, I'm also a professional editor, so I was going to edit the whole thing together. I was also going to record on-site music from the kids themselves.
Okay.
And so I created a CD, and I had no idea. I knew nothing about Iraq. I knew nothing about Iraqis. I had no idea how to get a project like that over there. I had nothing you're supposed to have. I didn't have any funding. I didn't have anything you're supposed to have. But you know, there are just certain things in life. It's like when that impulse is there and it won't leave you alone. To me, that's life saying, go that way. That's the thing to do. So it didn't make any logical sense. And I hit the road. And so 5 months later, I had 72 gigs of interviews with amazing children and youth.
Wow. Like
former gang members wrote raps about love. Little kids, white kids, black kids, native kids, Asian kids, just kids.
And how did you get this material to the Iraqi children?
It was, okay, so then I finished the CD, and then it came time to, first of all, I had to get it translated into Iraqi Arabic, because how arrogant to create a gift for the Iraqi people and expect them to listen to it in a language that actually is not innately their own. So there was a student at Harvard who will forever remain nameless, who defied her family. We hid in a basement in Harvard and recorded translations by flashlight. She was first generation Iraqi American.
Why was that forbidden?
Because at the time of production, it was so dangerous in Iraq that if an Iraqi if it was even heard about an Iraqi collaborating with an American, their family would have been murdered.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay.
Like there's just so much, it's so layered and so devastating what happened over there. And I just innocently kind of stepped into it. You know, I was just thinking like, well, you know, these children, all I knew was that children need a better way than what the adults or what we adults, I include myself in this, what we're providing for them right now. So this is a little thing I can do. And if I don't do a little thing, then I am most certainly a part of this problem.
How was the reaction over there?
The reaction was incredibly positive. So to answer your question, it was unknown to me when the project, so I had to record the translations by flashlight, like I said, cut those in. And then the CD was smuggled in by a very brave school teacher in Baghdad who did not want her students to grow up hating anyone. Oh. I mean, what a beautiful soul. And then that's when I started getting emails from Iraqi students.
Really?
Yeah, the first one was from this guy named Mohammed, who became a friend.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, he wrote, you know, thank you. You know, I hope this finds you at your very best.
Oh.
You know, he's in the middle of a war.
Yeah.
And he said, thank you so much. We didn't know anyone anywhere cared about us.
That's so powerful.
It's just crazy powerful. And so the CD actually ended up connecting medical communities between Baghdad and Cochin, India, and resulted in babies being airlifted out of Baghdad to Cochin at Ames Hospital in India for medical treatment. I mean, it prevented murder in Kenya. There's stuff online about it. It's just crazy. But that really influenced a portion of the book, because it's like these children are enduring circumstances that no adult should ever have to endure.
Yeah. What
are we doing for them? How are we equipping them for the insanity that is inevitable in this world? It's not, you know, it's not to, I mean, it's important to fight the insanity, but I think it's really important to, how do we navigate through this insanity? Because it's here.
Well, your instinct is light a candle. Don't pick up a rock.
Absolutely light a candle, because the light is within us.
Right.
I mean, we don't even have to light anything.
But we have to show someone our light.
Yes.
And that's what
we have.
did.
I mean, you have to have the courage to love actively, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Love is a verb.
Right.
It's a verb, you know. And so, and to have boundaries and to be smart about it, because they're, you know, I mean, it's a crazy world right now. But
can we go back to your childhood and maybe talk a little bit about where you received this wisdom and these lessons?
I just knew very early on to go within. It's always been that way. Okay. I was kind of like odd man out, or odd kid out, not man.
In your family or in your community, or?
In family. And in a way in community. But I mean, I always knew that there was something greater. And I was always very brazen, and I was never prevented from being, which is a tribute to my parents. Like, they didn't try to stop me from blazing away.
That's cool.
You know.
Yeah. Well, you work from your soul, you work from your heart, which is quite lovely. And I'm wondering if your music is an outward manifestation of what it is that goes on in your soul to sort of help you make the improvement to the planet that you sort of envision.
You nailed what my intentions are. That's exactly it. So well, put it this way, if the music doesn't work, then it's not in alignment. You know, it's like, it's just to stay out of its way. That's my goal. You know, at the level of my personality, I don't write from a level of personality, because that's fickle. But to write from the soul, that's much more broader, more colorful, more expansive, infinitely more expansive.
So how would you define the difference between soul and personality, and how do people keep those two entities, if you will, in alignment?
That's a really good question. Wow. Okay. That's a big question. And that's a life pursuit, I would say.
Okay.
And I think it's a journey for each person to choose if they choose it.
Okay.
But personality to me is more, well, put it this way, the soul, I think one of, at least in my experience, one of the intrinsic qualities of the soul is that it's loving and selfless. It strives to contribute. An aspect of personality or ego is that it can be, anyway, that it strives to just take for itself.
Okay.
And it not necessarily care so much about the whole, but much more caring about only the self, which is important. I'm not saying that that's not an important quality to have, because we all have to, you know, care well for ourselves, or, you know, hopefully. But, you know, I think, you know, what you were talking about, the whole opioid crisis, and I just love you. Both of you are clearly such incredible truth tellers. It's just awesome.
Thank you.
I think, you know, there's so much medicating going on because people are out of touch with their souls. You know, people just, they're looking for relief. They're just looking for the relief in the wrong place.
Self-medicating. I know
they just want
the whole society's doing.
They want the pain to end.
Yeah.
They don't know the source of the pain. And they're not willing to dig in and address the source of the pain when that's available.
Well, also I have to say, yeah, true. But we're also taught that. And this is where the part of me that's an educator, I see that a lot. I deal with kids. Well, they wouldn't want to hear me call them kids. I deal with students, because these are like young adults. I teach college seniors, and I love all of them. You know, I really do. I
didn't have one professor in college as inspirational as you.
No one loved you?
Now I want to go back to college.
None of your professors loved you?
No, they were bored. And it might have been because it was a college for underachievers and they were underpaid, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe they were self-medicating.
Maybe they were. I know I was.
You know?
No, but I mean, it's just hard when there's so much available to us, not even just opioids, but the things that are available to us that could be healing in some ways, like video games or streaming, you know, binge watching all night long. How much is the right, you talk about balance in your book, Ruth. I mean, creating balance where you look forward to something and you delay gratification and you enjoy it because you've earned it? Or are you just numbing yourself with it all day long because you don't want to get back to where you left off with your life?
Well, I mean, the thing is, okay, one of the essence of the main character to me is that she relishes taking risks, which is it's a bit of the opposite of the kind of lifestyle that's encouraged of just being comfortable all the time.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I just want to get back to just for a second about this whole thing about classrooms and opioids and drugs and all of this. I see many students, many of them being American. I have, there's large international presence in my classes. The American students especially, who are addicted to ADD meds.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I hear this a lot from students. They don't like the drugs. They've been told to take them since they were children. Mm-hmm. Now they're jittery. They have a hard time focusing on anything. There is a model of education that I think we all really, hopefully, will, address, of modeling this idea that behavior modification is only to be found in a pill.
Mm-hmm. Right. And and there are certain forms of mental illness where you really need to medicate just to feel normal. So it's hard. Like in your book, Jay, she has to discern the difference between the advice that's good and the advice that are detractors or that are talking her out of something that she had intended to do. And how at 10 or at 25 or at 75 do you know the difference? And how do you figure out the difference between what the medicine that you need to take and the medicine? There's these scenes in American Rust. Have you been watching that, Fritz?
I saw the first episode only, but I want to watch it.
Yeah, we haven't talked about it yet on the show, Ruth. Mm-hmm. But anyway, it's about a cop that lives in the kind of like a steel town where the steel mill has shut down, and it's played by Jeff Daniels. And there are these scenes where he's got these knives and these measuring devices where he's trying to wean himself off of the meds that he was prescribed after Vietnam or whatever he's been through in his life. I'm not sure. He's really trying to take a little bit less every day by crushing the pills and measuring them.
Putting them on a scale and doing a little less each day.
And he's having a hell of a time because every time he feels challenged in his life, he just pops the whole pill. So, and this is what we all face, right? Like what's moderation? What's useful? What's damaging?
Right. Well, I think that there's a really important lesson, and this is something that I really try to weave throughout the book, which is that we all have the power within us.
Okay.
We all have something very innate that we can all count on. Also, I think that one of the biggest problems, in a way, is also one of the greatest services. In terms of the internet and everything being so quickly available to us.
Right.
I mean, that is a huge benefit in so many ways. However, it doesn't replace showing a child, for example, just give a child a plant so that they can see how does that plant grow when the seed first comes up out of the ground. Mm-hmm. And waiting for that moment when you first start to see that, and then watching it uncurl every single day and watch just the rhythm of nature.
You can't hit fast forward on a plant.
What's that?
I'm sure they've tried, but you can't hit fast forward on a plant.
No, you can't. And that's the magnificence of it, right? Mm-hmm. But also, it teaches so many different lessons when the seed coat is ready to drop. I mean, lessons in detachment.
And that was so fascinating, the way that you created the stem as the wisest figure in your pieces.
Yeah, that just popped into my brain.
This is how we're attached to life-giving nutrients, or how would you describe it? How did you come up with that concept?
It just came to me. I wish I could really outline some really cool process with it, but it just occurred to me, like, these stems are absolute precise knowledge, and they can explain how things really work. Like, for example, the lesson that in order to achieve something, you need to fail.
Right.
And that's such an important lesson. Again, getting back to the whole drug thing, it's hard. It sucks to fail. It hurts to fail. Who wants to fail? But it's necessary for success. So unless that's taught, then failure is always going to be avoided. The pain of failure is always, that gets into that self-medicating thing.
And one of the fears, I think, is that, because for example, you take a child, take a 10-year-old child, and he's willing to fail repeatedly at a video game, and he knows he's learning while he's failing. But to fail publicly, to fail in a way where other people, like the diving board, you open on a very public scene where the child is failing publicly in front of all her peers. That's something that I don't think a lot of kids are strong enough to endure. And I wish that we could bolster that part of their being to be more patient and more resilient against what people would say or judge.
That's one of the purposes of this book.
Okay.
Because you can't know what you've never seen.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. I mean, none of us really can. I can't. So, here's an example of a kid with real guts who really goes through some really hard things and triumphs and doesn't give up. And also, has, there are these other relationships with her classmates that are, how we're all connected.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, she goes on this journey alone, but she's not really alone.
Yeah.
She has a certain kind of a foundation. So, I really hear what you're saying, but in terms of, I think it's as many, it's cliche, but as many role models, hopefully that are fun, because it was a big emphasis, really important for me to make the book fun. I had a lot of fun writing it.
Yeah.
So I figured if I had fun writing it, it's going to hopefully be fun to read,
Yeah, absolutely.
But these days, at least many of the people who I talk to, there's this overwhelm. I mean, understandably so, because there's so many problems, and kids are taught in school that they're running out of air.
Yeah.
Not to mention other resources. Adults are really, many of them, not all of them, but many of them are very understandably preoccupied. So where are the examples of some health and some resilience and some inner brilliance? Like, where are they? So that's where we need the arts right now.
That's such an important point. And speaking of the arts, if you don't mind, I just want to get into the nuts and bolts of your main vocation, music, because people may have been affected by your creativity that they're not even aware of. For instance, what are some of the shows that you have scored that we might have watched?
Okay, there was a really beautiful feature-length documentary called The Prison Within that was streaming on Prime. I think it's on Apple iTunes now.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. They're part of The Hope, for the National Geographic The Hope, about Jane Goodall. I scored part of that.
Mm-hmm.
The Jane's podcast series, Hopecast, I scored that. For years, there was this guy named Bob Vila.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay. Yeah, I scored his show for 17 years.
Oh, my
That's
goodness.
me playing all those guitars.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Well, what
I played
instruments can you play?
Guitars, basses, drums, flutes, piano, of course, different kinds of keyboards, violin, really poorly, but just so I can write for it well.
Yeah.
Some cello, clarinet.
Oh, wow. So do you use a particular program for audio?
Yeah, I use Cubase.
Okay.
And Digital Performer still. I'm one of the last ones to still use that one.
But it's kind of like whatever becomes native, right?
Exactly. Right. Yeah. So yeah, DP and Cubase are my DAWs, or my digital audio workstations, as it's called.
So as a musician, where do you fall in the argument between live acoustic musicians and a keyboard-generated soundtrack for a film? In a perfect world, which would you rather use?
It all depends on the story being told. So, because there are some stories that need to sound mechanical, or So if a score is going to benefit from a more of a industrial, but not industrial, that's the wrong word, but more of a mechanical nuance, then synths are going to be the way to go for that if that supports the story.
Yeah, and it's the budget too, right?
And the budget, well, yeah, that's always the decide. I mean, these days, I write a lot of orchestral scores, but the budgets can't afford a 90-piece orchestra.
Wow. We have a question from Mason, our engineer, for you.
Oh, hey.
Okay. Hey, Mason.
Hey, I also do film scores as well. And I was just curious, because this is something that I encounter a lot, but how do you balance expressing yourself personally with also doing service to the film and to the picture?
What a great question.
Great question.
That's a really great question.
We're going to have you back, Mason.
Yeah. My personal answer for that is that I make time for my own writing. So, I mean, in terms of film scoring is a collaborative art form, and I love that. It's an amazing thing to have to stretch to embrace another person's perspective. So I'm always growing whatever project I'm scoring. You know, sometimes like, okay, The Prison Within, for example, that score, everything I innately felt for the score, the director innately was on the same page, which was amazing because that doesn't always happen. You know, sometimes a director wants something different, but if it's a director who I really respect, who really has vision, I know I'm going to grow by having to do a rewrite, for example.
Yeah.
You know, for the people out there who may not know what we're talking about, you know, when you're scoring a scene, you know, some people can think it's like, oh, well, the composer just gets to do what they want. Like I've heard, you know, people have come up to me and said, oh, you have the most amazing career. You just get to do whatever you want. And I'm like, it is so not that.
No.
This is a service profession.
Right.
So, you know, you're in service to the director's vision to fulfill the purpose of their film. Now, I place a value on that. That's valuable to me. To help another person fulfill their vision is highly valuable to me. So I really enjoy that. So I don't see that as a contradiction. However, I also make time to, in fact, just last week, I completed a piece. I co-wrote a song with someone in India. They contacted me with some lyrics and they asked me to set it to music, which was a big honor. This was a really incredible lyricist from India who's in Kerala, I think. And so that was just music for music's sake. So I try to, you know, have a balance of writing personally as well. That helps me in a way. Does that answer it?
Yeah, that's a great answer. Thank you.
Let me tag on to Mason's question. How does the process work? The director comes in and shows you raw footage or shows you specific scenes and says, I'm thinking of melancholy here with a tinge of yellow or something. I mean,
some of them speak that way.
Yeah, but just tell us how the process works from beginning to end.
Okay. No, it's a good question. It again, that can depend. Sometimes a director will send me a script before anything's even shot. So that's more rare, but that can happen too. And then based on the script, I come up with thematic material. That happened one time actually. Rainbow Harvest, you know, River Phoenix's sister, Rainbow Harvest, was starring in this film called Another Honky Tonk Girl Says She Will. This was a long time ago. And based on the script, I wrote some music and they actually ended up using that music playing out of they incorporated that into the film then, where the main character was actually listening to the radio. And it was that music that I wrote based on reading the script.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, that can happen. That's kind of rare though. But usually what happens these days is I'm told this is a final, and I'm saying this in quotes because they're, you know, it's always, the footage is usually being changed till the nth hour. And then what I really love to do, first of all, the first thing that I try to do is negotiate not only for money, but for time. When I'm working on a project, that time is at least as valuable as money, because I can write super crazy quickly, like the way that anybody can in the industry, but as a norm, I like to approach this artistically. Let it sit for a minute and review,
Now, will you come up with maybe 4 or 5 themes and then incorporate those in different moods and textures throughout the piece?
Right. So basically what happens is I watch the film, and this is what I tell my students too. This is what I watch the film at least 10 times without thinking music. It's very ironic because I'm there to provide the score. But the first thing, I just want the story just to inform itself to me. I really want to understand the story. I want to understand the inner workings of the characters first. Then I get together with the director and really discuss the inner life of the story. And also, if it's documentary, this also means this involves background that's not even on film, that's on camera. So that I really have a well-rounded, so I'm in relationship then with the characters in the film.
Right.
Once I'm in relationship, so there's all this preparatory stuff first. Once I'm in relationship, then I'll start writing. And then I'll come up with, like you were saying, like 3 to 5 different motivic ideas for different characters, play those for the director. If it's a go, then I just start writing.
Okay.
And then
Quincy Jones said that a movie soundtrack, and I assume he meant the same thing for his television work, should never call attention to itself. It should just magically change the mood of the viewer, and they can't describe why.
True. Exactly. True. Completely agree with that. It's a thankless job. If it's well done, you don't notice it at all. If it's, and also I have to say though, if it's well mixed, that's the other thing, because if the score is too loud, that can kill it too.
You don't have any control over that, right? That's the director or the editor.
I have no control over that, but I suggest mixes, put it that way. I strongly suggest mixes when I submit my final cues. A cue is a piece of music for a scene, everybody who's doesn't know what that means. But absolutely, it's just to draw, the purpose of the score is to draw you into the scene. And depending also, if it's fiction, because I score both fiction and documentary. If it's documentary especially, one of the really important roles of what I feel personally, good scoring of documentary, is you don't lead the viewer into a particular emotional conclusion, especially if it's a very serious topic.
Don't get ahead of the action, sort of a thing.
Exactly. You want to honor the intelligence of the viewer.
Well,
So it's really like holding the space. There was a documentary. There's an incredible photographer named Abelardo Morel. Have you ever heard of him?
No.
I don't think so.
Okay, he's really something. So he was the first photographer to actually photograph camera obscura, where light will come in through a small hole. And then the reflection will appear opposite, upside down on the wall that the light is reflected on. So it basically is, in other words, photographing how our eyes work.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so he has an amazing life story. He was a refugee out of Cuba, came to the United States. And in this film that I had, it was a real honor. He actually requested that I score the film.
Really?
Yeah. And his wife is also a filmmaker. And I've done a lot of work for her, and he really liked that. And so when he actually had a film made about him, which he did not want, he's just a very humble guy. He didn't want that kind of. I mean, he's very celebrated. He has, like, in the Museum of Fine Arts here in Boston, there was a whole mid-life or mid-career retrospective of his work. Like, he's something else. But but like the score for that had to hold the space for the words that he was talking about in terms of when he left Cuba and why he left Cuba as a young boy, and that he defied his parents to go back to Cuba 40 years later. And somehow the music had to hold the tension of his story and support his portraits that were being shown as B-roll while he was speaking throughout the film.
Mm-hmm.
So like a score like that, it's a very delicate balance.
Very precisely timed, I'm sure, too, to the frame.
Oh, absolutely. All my scores are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm totally anal when it comes to sync.
Mm-hmm.
Because that actually can be, sorry, for anybody out there, to sync is when you synchronize a sound with a movement or an emotional nuance on camera. That's what sync means.
Do you ever give the director alternatives? For instance, several different treatments of the same beat and allow him to choose? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So, once I'm set free to do what I wanted, what I feel will be most supportive, I'll score a scene, but then there's a lot of back and forth. As part of the, getting back to this process, there's a lot of back and forth with the director. It's never like, okay, well, this is what I feel should work. So here it is, we're done. It's never that way. Then the director watches it and either agrees, disagrees, or actually what I've learned to really enjoy is the back and forth of like, well, this is working here, but I want more of something else here. I mean, it never feels good to be told you have to redo your work.
Right.
Like, however, if you're working with somebody with vision, it's exciting to me.
Yes, because it just keeps getting more and more dynamic. But you would really need locked picture before you're going to do anything that precise, right?
Yeah. The hard part is when I'm told something is a final lock and then it's not. So these days I will write sketches, but I will not really dig into scoring until I know it's really a final. And the directors who I work with know that.
What instrument do you compose on?
Good question. This is going to sound really strange. The shower half the time.
Cool.
That's a lot of time.
I do my best composing in the shower as well. I'm really good at it.
It's like sometimes it'll ride in sideways when I'm doing something else. But usually, I mean, piano is the overall what I'll compose on. But a lot of times, if I'm, again, getting back to how important it is to have time to work on a film, over the years, I've learned to trust the infinity of my own imagination. So I'll hear something, or I might hear a color or a gesture. I sing stuff into my phone all the time. Like if I hear a melodic, some kind of melody, I'm always singing melodies into my phone. I have like a gazillion memo tracks in my phone of just melodies that I hear.
Wow.
But sometimes it's like the color that I'll hear that's accessed just through imagination. The reason I need more time is to come up with the right instrument combination to match that color that I'm hearing.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how
The
do you
Prison Within is all about that one. I just love the meaning of that film because it's all about compassion, and the score was nothing but this process. All the films I work on, but in terms of like hearing these sounds and how can I possibly reproduce that was the major, really fun challenge of that particular film.
Right. So what you're saying is that with documentary, you want the people in the film to tell their story, but with a dramatic piece, scripted piece, we're often cued that something scary is about to happen because the music changes. So we're all, like for me being skittish, I'm cued by music to close my eyes.
Right.
But you don't want that in documentary, correct?
No, I mean, I personally don't.
Yeah.
Especially because when you're dealing with really serious topics, it's disrespectful to me to be dramatic. It's dramatic enough.
Yeah.
And also the thing is, if you add drama to drama, you get entertainment.
That's really a wonderful expression. You're a documentary filmmaker, Weezy. This is just an observer from somebody who enjoys documentaries. They don't use as much music in a documentary, right? There are glisses and there's transitional things, but it's not really responsible for the emotion of the piece as much as it is in a dramatic movie. Am I right about that or no?
You can almost always have a little bit of music. You can pull it way down and not have it, interfering, but I've never had anything scored. I've used cues that I've purchased, and then with the Cowsills, I used their music. So Ruth has a different experience because she's been hired to create a score. So it's just a completely different process.
I guess what I wanted to say is, Ruth, is the score less important to the success of a documentary than it is to a dramatic film?
Not in my experience. Mm-hmm. I'm actually usually the one always asking for less music.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So you understand its role, and that it's like seasoning, and if you overdo it, it's nothing tastes good.
Exactly. Exactly. And I'm usually the one. I mean, it's ironic, but working with the director, producer, and the editor, I'm usually the one saying it doesn't need anything here.
It's distracting.
Yeah, exactly. Why put? It works. Especially when something's really well done, it needs to be treated really delicately. You don't want to step all over it, but I think that music it just depends on the topic, what is the story being told? What I do find is, like, for certain documentaries that I've worked on, if you want to inspire compassion, a score can really help with that.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because the score has the capacity to really open the human heart, but not in a pull on the heartstring kind of way. It's far more subtle than that.
So, what do you think that we learn as we move through our day? What do we learn from the music that we hear just kind of extemporaneously, whether it's on the radio or in a store or in a coffee shop? Are we constantly, are kind of molecules constantly shifting based on music that we just happen to be walking through?
I think that unless we really master our minds, I think that we're influenced by everything around us.
Okay. Yeah.
So, I think music definitely is a part of that, but I think that, certainly, like, the things that we pay attention to on the news, the kinds of conversations that we have, the kind of conversations that we're exposed to, I think, all of these things affect us much more than we may possibly, realize. I'm not saying that there are people who don't realize that, but I think that internal mind management would be a great skill from people to have for their own peace of mind.
Or do we sometimes know what music to put on if we need to kind of take down some tension? Or
that's the thing, because it's powerful.
Right.
It's powerful. Absolutely. So there's music that can be extremely healing and rejuvenating to the spirit. And therefore, if it's rejuvenating to your spirit, it's good for your body.
Yeah.
So,
there are large department stores that have teams of professionals that focus group. This is true. I've learned this from my time in broadcast.
They do it with Aromas too.
Yes, they focus group this stuff to see which type of music, which ambiance is going to create an atmosphere in which you're likely to spend more money or buy their product. It's the psychology behind it is crazy.
It is crazy. And that's exactly what I mean in terms of, like, if we understand how to work how our minds work, we can't be manipulated so easily.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm constantly emphasizing this to my students.
Okay.
In another kind of way, just in terms of, because most students really are incredibly hard on themselves.
Oh.
There can be a real self-esteem issue.
Is it this age group, or is it people who are this talented?
I think there's a lot of, that's a really good question. I have private students also who wanted to study with me, but didn't get into Berkeley.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say it's across the board. I think it's just I think I don't think it's the result of having being extraordinarily talented or not. I think it's just the human condition.
Mm.
Just because it's such an unsure world.
It also could be the creation of music is so personal. It's so raw. It's so vulnerable.
True. But it does take confidence to express it.
Right.
Right. I mean, I'm always, emphasizing to my students, it's like, we all have the power to contribute to improve this world. Mm-hmm. So it's important to, again, and that gets back to like valuing taking risks, valuing, it's an accomplishment to be vulnerable.
Right.
That's an achievement. That's not something to fear.
Whatever the outcome.
That's an inner triumph.
It is. The greatest artists are those that can tap into that part of their soul. And
absolutely. I think that's really available to absolutely everyone. Mm-hmm. But, there's an instruction manual that's really missing with that says something like, if you were to open it up, it says, get ready to take risks. Get ready for it to feel scary. If you're feeling afraid, you're on the right track.
And that's why I feel like your book is such an instruction manual. And I'm wondering for you personally, since you put that in writing, 30 years of your energy driving this story and then creating this story and it being out there on Amazon in writing in a concrete, tangible form, has it instructed you in any way to have that out there in the world?
Yeah. I mean, the writing of it instructed me, actually. Mm-hmm. Because there was predicament after predicament that the main character is going through. And it was just so obvious to me as I was writing it that all of these predicaments were just only designed to help make her stronger.
Right. And they're parallels to writing a book, right? This journey.
Right. Yeah. And having it out there is definitely something that I would not have been ready for up until now.
Oh, okay.
You must have gotten some fairly profound reactions to this book. Are there any that you can share with us?
Yeah, I think I've gotten many, actually. And the very first was that there was a child who just lost her father.
Oh boy.
And her mother wrote to me saying that the book is a lifeline for both of them.
Oh.
Well, your
so that was one of the very first pieces of email that I got.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
And people also, it's interesting, I don't want to, it's important to not connect. This book is completely not a political statement at all. I have gotten emails from people saying that they haven't known how to negotiate in themselves or talk to their children about certain conflicts in this country. Mm-hmm. And that the book has actually given them a way to be able to discuss certain issues with them.
I think your bravery in this book is you're going into some very, very dark is not the word I mean, but for instance, you engage in the concept of war and how even people as young as Jay react to that. And I think that's so important. I mean, that's a topic that most parents, because of their own fear of not being adequate enough to talk to them about it, want to engage with their children. Yeah,
it's the emotion of rage, and how do you handle it? Yeah, how do you handle it? Yeah.
How do you handle it? Sorry, I didn't mean to finish your
sentence.
No,
you helped. Right. You helped me with the right word. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was one of the reasons this book took so long, because I had to go through my experience of working with children in war to see what they go through.
What have they taught you?
How much they need to be loved.
Yeah.
How much they need to be reassured that they're going to be okay.
Yeah.
That boils it down to everything.
Yeah.
Right. And that's, and the adults though too. Okay. So I'm just going to get back to this Well Wishes project for a second, if that's okay.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I got an email from this woman in Nakuru in Kenya. it was the uprisings of 2007, and listening to this Well Wishes CD that I had no clue. This is the one from the kids in the U.S. to kids in Iraq.
Right.
They smuggled it. It ended up in Kenya.
Wow.
So long story that there's not time for right now, but it's this woman. It was the uprisings of 2007. And people, it was like Rwanda there for a couple of weeks. People were like burning down each other's homes and just like all this strife. And the only reason I know this is because I had this little CD project. It's like but I've learned a lot of conflicts on the ground from people. Just what day-to-day people go through, not the news, but just civilian life, you know? So this woman heard this CD. And it's just children expounding on some of the most profound universal truths without an agenda, just with innocent expression. And she wrote to me saying, I was planning to avenge for loss of life and loss of property, meaning she was going to murder and pillage in return.
Oh.
And then she said, but I heard this CD and I decided that I was going to work for peace instead.
Oh.
Well, there you go. Your work is finished.
So, right? So like that. But what did it? What was the fulcrum? Innocent love and the innocence of common sense that's innate to all of us. That was the fulcrum that pried her out of what would have been a perpetuation of all untold hell for her.
Yeah.
And her family and whoever else. So, you know, that's what's needed. So all of these experiences that I've had through the film scoring work though too, because that's taught me a lot about how to be flexible and open-minded, how to be able to change one's perspective. I've learned all those things in the course of scoring films, or they've been really reinforced. You know, I have an amazing career. It's a great, and how to also detach. You can't score films and be attached to what you do. You can't, you know, because if it's your film, go ahead and But if I'm scoring someone else's film, I have to stay in my lane.
You're in service to it. Sure.
Be of service to it.
Yeah.
And also, you know, but if I feel, you know, I like to approach any work situation where I really respect the people I work with. So if they have a perspective outside of my own, that means I can grow. I mean, it's not a bad thing to be disagreed with.
So rather than feeling threatened, feel like you've been enriched.
Yes, exactly. And it took me a long time to realize that, you know, because I used to think like, oh, you know, either I really thought my way was better, or I thought, you know, whatever there's that kind of ego-y thing, or feeling like, oh, I should have known this, that kind of ego-y.
Okay. Both,
you know?
Yeah.
Because they're both ego-y.
Right, but they're both counterproductive.
They both
and natural, but that's what we have to work against.
Exactly. They're not the thing, they're not, that's not an expression of one's best self.
Sure. They don't move your story forward at all.
Right.
Well, we want to thank you so much for being with us. This conversation has been just truly beautiful and enlightening, and we thank you so much. We're going to put links in our show notes for all that you create that's beautiful and of service to the world. And Fritz is going to tell people how they can review our show.
All right. If you enjoyed this episode of Media Path, it would help us to be more discoverable by potential new listeners if you leave us a quick review on Apple Podcasts. And if you're new here and this is your first time with us, please check out our back catalog. You'll find all sorts of binge-worthy stuff. And this episode with Ruth Mendelson will become part of the binge-worthy stack that we have for you. We've added everything from the Cowsills to Gary Puckett to Richard Sturban of the Oak Ridge Boys to Mark Summers to Bill Medley, all kinds of wonderful things. Henry Winkler, Keith Morrison, Josh Mankiewicz, thank you so much for spending an hour with us, and we would be overjoyed if you took a moment to share your thoughts with us or recommend us to a friend. Thank you so much, Ruth. It was just awesome.
Here come your closing credits.
Great.
Thank you so much. We would love for you to join us online on Instagram and Twitter, where we are at Media Path Pod, and on Facebook, where we are Media Path Podcast. You can find full episodes with all kinds of bonus visual content on our YouTube channel, Media Path Podcast. We would love to know what media you've been enjoying, so you can contact us at our social media or email us at mediapathpodcast@gmail.com. We want to thank our wonderful guest, Ruth Mendelson. Our team includes Dina Friedman, Francesco Demanda, John Maddox, Sharon Bellio, Bill Filipiak, Thomas Hubble, Mason Brown, and you. Our theme music is by me and John Maddox. I am Louise Palanker here with Fritz Coleman, and we will see you along the media path.
Wait, I have one question for Ruth.
Yeah.
Is there any indigenous blood in your background?
Yes, there is.
Because you're just displaying the most beautiful turquoise, your earrings and your ring. That's some beautiful stuff. Not that that's important. It's just I wondered if it was.
Yeah, there is. Thank you so much. Yes.
Okay. Anyway, that answered my question. Okay, now we really are ending this podcast.
See you next week.
Thank you so much.
Don't hang up yet, Ruth. We're going to take our picture with you. We'll walk over to the TV screen and stand with you. So Mason is going to tell you when exactly to smile.
You guys are awesome.